Carolyn Doobie here. Oh, what's the play for today? Well, today I made an art journal page, and on the surface it looks like a colorful, happy art journal page where I've done some no-fail image transfers the easy way, and I've used some watercolor crayons. That's some gel printing that I did up there. But if you look a little bit closer, you might notice the word that was used. I guess it's not really a word, but the letters that were used all around here. It's what the flipperdoodle, because I was so frustrated with something. I was pretty much just dumbstruck by something, and I just couldn't believe it. And I had to find a way to process this out, so I used my art journal to do it. Now, the stencil that I'm using is actually a little one like this, and it came off of a big one like this. This is my teenage angst stencil that I created for over at StencilGirl, and to get this from this, you simply cut them out. So I actually cut this all apart, so I have lots of different little ones. I broke them down into their phrases or individual words. That way I could use them in my art journal the way you're going to see me use it with a gel plate. I'm starting out by getting paint on about half of a gel plate here, and I'm just going to press it right down on top of the stencil that was on the page. I'm going to peel the stencil off and get a ghost print there, and I'm going to create a background this way. Now, the WTF, I'm just kind of in shock with something, can't believe it, so in shock, I'm like, which way do I turn the stencil? How do I do this? Because I am just, I just can't believe it. Now I'm going to keep repeating this process over and over again and using different colors until I get the entire page filled up here. And yep, I'm even going to clean the brayer off right onto the page. So what exactly started this little chain reaction here that's ending up in my journal? Well, let's just say when you call a company with an issue and you finally get through the phone tree to get to a person, then they transfer you to another person so you can wait on hold yet again to get you the next person, and yes, they transferred me to another person, to which I'm on hold. I do all of this stuff, and then I get the voicemail of the person I'm supposed to talk to, so I don't even have the direct line or know how to get back to that person again. Yeah, I was frustrated. Now, I'm probably not the only person in the world that gets frustrated with these things, so you might be able to relate to the fact that I pretty much was spitting nails by this point, and I definitely needed this playtime to kind of get that out of my system. Some colors here, some just putting that word down over and over again. I finally started to get enough of it out of my system. I was beginning to feel like a human being again. And the good news is, out of all of this, I managed to get a colorful background. Now, a lot of times when I stencil, I'll use something like a cosmetic sponge or a brush to apply the paint. But this time, I'm using the 3x5 gel press plate, and that gives me a different look, a different vibe than if I'd used just a straight cosmetic sponge or paintbrush. And you probably can't tell, but there are a couple times I pushed down really hard on that gel plate just because I was feeling so frustrated about that phone call. Now, I definitely wanted to capture some of the feelings from this whole thing, so I started doing some scribble journaling around one of these, in one of the open spots. And it felt great to get those feelings out on the page, but I did not like how they looked at all there. So that's an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. And I tried covering it up with yellow paint, but yep, that was another oops. Didn't really cover it up as much as I wanted. So the opportunity in that one was to add a more opaque paint, and that's where I'm bringing in the white. So as I'm going around the page, adding more of it here and there, I realize what an opportunity this is for me to put down some image transfers. Except I like to do image transfers that give me immediate gratification without having to do a lot of the hard work or waiting. So that means I'm going to need to bring in something called Craft Attitude. Now, Craft Attitude is something that you run through your inkjet printer, and here I've taken these images from Tumblefish Studio that I absolutely adore her stuff, and I've run it through the inkjet printer, and then I'm going to cut it out. Now, the directions for how to do all this is on the package for the Craft Attitude, but the nice part for me is because it's clear plastic around the edges, I don't actually have to cut anything very carefully. I can just loosely go around the shapes. Now, I finished cutting out all of the houses that are on here, and now I'm ready to start gluing them on the page. The nice part about them is they're very translucent, so you'll be able to see what's on the page underneath them as well as the shape. Now what I'm going to do is start by peeling it apart just a little bit. I like to get it started before I bring in the glue. Makes it easier when I go to put this down. And I'm going to bring in the basic glue stick. Nothing fancy here. A good solid covering of glue. The trickiest part for me is to actually get glue all the way on the edges. And then I'm going to peel it off. Now I can put it down and then peel the paper off, or peel the paper off and put it down. I like to do it this way on this so I can see exactly where I'm positioning it for how it's going to look with what's underneath it. Once I like where it is, then I simply press it down flat. One of the things that I really like about using Craft Attitude is because the side that you're seeing now, that's a matte side. The shiny glossy side went down, and the matte side is the part that you see, so it doesn't have this very, shiny plastic like you ran just a transparent through your printer. It's got a much different look to it. It also works really well when you try and do things on top of it, which you'll see in just a minute. Now they have several different kinds of the Craft Attitude, and over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com, I have links to everything that I'm using here, so if you'd like to know more about them, just click on over there and you'll find all the details. So now I've got all these houses creating a very colorful neighborhood here on my pages. But even with all this color, I still want more on here. So what I've got there is a watercolor crayon, and I chose the pink color, and it really doesn't show up much at all. Not much at all. But that's okay. That's an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. And it's pretty easy to erase that stuff because on the Craft Attitude, which is plastic, when I put some water on the watercolor crayon, it pretty much just comes right up and you don't even know that it was there. So now I know the pink crayon was not the one I wanted to use. Now I'm going to try the blue one. And I'm much happier with how this one's showing up. So I'm going to continue to go all sketchy on these houses and add another layer of color throughout. Well, as I looked at this, I realized I didn't really like that house up there. That's an oops. I've changed my mind. So I wiped off the watercolor crayon and then just covered it over with a layer of white. As I was doing some scribble journaling with the watercolor crayon, I realized that house is kind of peeking out underneath the white paint as it dried, so that's kind of like the ghost house in the neighborhood. So now the big question, to leave the white when I'm all done, or to cover it over and add more stuff to the page. Now I'm sitting on the fence with this, and I'm going to need you to tip me one way or the other on this fence. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do to this page, or if you think I should leave it just as it is. Well, thanks so much for stopping by and joining me for this art journal play. If you've been enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you know somebody that you think would enjoy this, I'd so appreciate it if you shared this with them. And if you want to make sure that you never miss one of my videos, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as a new one's out. Well, thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.